Hey,
All
hey,
right, we're back. Hey Tyler, how are you? Happy
doing
holidays.
all right, man. It's been crazy around here, like always. Keeping busy, keeping busy. How about
Yeah,
yourself?
yeah. It's pretty busy, as you know, but yeah, I'm happy the holidays is about. I think I kind of it gives me a little bit of time. Well, I haven't did it yet, but I definitely want to spend some time reflecting on dSIPRouter, the project, the people behind the project, and
Hmm.
our customers that's been using the project. And just kind of thinking about what's going to happen, next year and what the stuff we're kind of planning out and all that good stuff. So that's what I'm kind of hoping for maybe next week to have a little bit of time to do that.
Okay, yeah, I think that'll be good for next week. This week we do got a couple things kind of in the queue here.
Mhm.
I'll re-demo that floating IP change that we did last week, and then I was also going to just talk about some cluster deployment configurations and give people a little bit more awareness on how that works. Um,
Yeah,
I also want to talk a little bit about some of the changes coming to the installation, um, how how we're going to do some packaging around that. So I think a lot of
absolutely,
people are.
man.
I don't think everybody else is as excited as me about it, but I'm very excited to get some dependencies built into static packages. But what do you got? What do you got today for us, Mac?
Um, Not much actually. For me, it's all about planning for next year and thinking through things, and really excited about some of the new things that we're doing next year, and how I'm kind of envisioning um, us to kind of move the project forward. Um, a lot around packaging, a lot around like kind of a new architecture for the UI. So I think I'm pretty excited, but nothing big for me, man. This is really the Tyler show today. So let's get into it, man. So what do you
Yeah, let's
got?
get into
What
it.
you thinking?
So, first thing I wanted to go over is just a quick discussion on the installation process and some of the issues that we've had with dependencies and how we're moving forward on that. The biggest thing is we have quite a few packages and dependencies, quite a few dependencies that are compiled on our installation. And whenever you have something that's compiled on install, you're depending on that compiling every time. And yeah, we've run into several issues with that in the past. Just had another one this week where one of our packages, the build process broke on it and had to go fork it, and we had to change that out. So what I want to do with all that, and what we started doing, is learning how to get our dev and RPM packages, basically how to do that on our end. And what we're going to do with dSIPRouter on the installation process is take all those compiled packages and compile them, put them in a dev and RPM repo, and then we're going to have that basically just installed with the binary on install instead of compiling them each time.
So what will be some of the advantages of
And my
that
headphones
besides the
just died, so I'm going to swap that out.
oh no problem. So while he swatched those out, so some of the
I
advantages
might
that
just do
me
the
and
wired ones, actually.
okay, that's cool. So
Here we go.
here we go. There you go.
Yeah, can't
Looking
go can't
good.
go wrong with the big guys.
There you go. So I was just telling everyone like one of the things that we talked about. I was asking you
Hmm.
some of the advantages of having these packages. I know we talked about a couple, but what is some of the obviously, we're not dependent upon these downstream projects, right? Which means that it'll make our install process more reliable. What's the other thing that would be a benefit? I guess
Yeah, so
we
that's the
talked about it
biggest
yesterday.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
we've talked about this in the past, but the biggest thing is going to be dependency management. It's static now. You build it at this release, and then it's stuck at this release. Basically, like how you're pinning your other packages in like Python and npm, all that type of stuff. So your C compiled projects that you're depending on, now they're pinned to that specific release, and that's what we want. Just more stability there. The second part is just, well, there's actually two more. Just thought of another. So the second part is install time. So you don't have to go and compile all this stuff on install. So it makes it a lot faster. Everybody likes a quick install. The third part is that you don't have to have all of these compilation tools installed into the system. So had a couple people ask me about that, like, hey, can you fix this in the install process, like get rid of all the CMake tools, because normally you don't want to have all that stuff on your production system, right? And we just haven't
Right.
cleaned that up yet. So this will make that a
And
lot easier. You pull
and
that
the
out
main
of
reason why, and the main reason why I'm assuming is because it provides it's a security risk. I'm assuming because somebody can get on the box and with some C code or whatever, compile it on the box and then run some malicious software. Is that kind of or insert it into the kernel? I'm assuming that's one of the reasons why you don't want that stuff running.
You have more threat vectors, basically, like a higher breadth of tools that could be used to
Gotcha.
escalate privileges or be a security vulnerability. So yeah, you just want to minimize that impact.
No, that's good. That's good. So yeah, I'm excited about that. What else? What else are you thinking?
Yeah, so that's been what I've been dreaming up, and I think adding a lot to this release, it keeps on compounding. So we're going to try and stop adding more and more stuff. But yeah, I'm fine pushing back our release date into further into January, into February, to get these things into the release and just get all the improvements in there. So I just want to talk about that on packages. Got a couple little demos and things to go over as well. Do you have any talking points you want to go over before we move on to a couple of demos? And
no, I'm just thinking that maybe I'm thinking like our last release is in August, so we may want to put those enhancements in another release after, but I don't know. We can talk about it. I don't know nobody. I don't know if anybody's like. We just gotta look and figure out is anybody waiting on anything from us. Because for those who don't know, this next release is what we call the paper cut release, right? So we got to come up with a logo for that, Tyler, like the paper cut release, like something. But that's really the one. This is really the release where we're dealing with all the issues that all of you have been like complaining about. Issues that me and Tyler see on a day-to-day basis, and we're like, we cringe every time we see it. We're like, man, we need to fix this. And so I don't know if there's anything critical in there. So Tyler may be right. We may just push it back. But if something that's like critical that people need, let us know. We'll try and get it out. But anyway, no, I don't have anything, Tyler. I'm just adding commentary. So keep going.
All right, cool. Yeah. For everybody who doesn't know, Mac does most of the branding around here. He's really good at it. I think the paper cut release, maybe a little icon for that, some branding. That'll be fun.
Right.
Okay, so I'm gonna start with the demo on the demo we did last week. Just gonna redo that really quickly. I had a minute to look at that floating IP script, and I'm gonna share my screen here.
Yeah, this should be cool because yeah, this would be cool. We got a lot of DigitalOcean users out there, mainly because we build on DigitalOcean. By the way, DigitalOcean doesn't sponsor this podcast, but if somebody from DigitalOcean is listening and wants to sponsor our podcast, please do. But we are big fans of DigitalOcean. We use them for all of our builds, all of our testing. It's pretty dope. So if you haven't checked it out, we'll put a little link to a referral link that we have, and you can go check it out. So anyway, go ahead, Tyler.
All right, perfect. So this is just a Rocky build that we have. It already has dSIPRouter on there. You guys can see that it has a floating IP over here, and it's assigned, but it also has its normal ephemeral external IP there. And if I go on to that box, it's the Rocky one. Let's clear it out. And if I ask an external IP resolver, what's my IP? It's going to give me the default outgoing route, and that is not the floating IP. So a lot of people run into this issue, and they'll have to figure it all out themselves. What we're going to do here is change this by just adding a quick script that will assign the default route to the floating IP, and we'll put that into the dSIPRouter startup process. So for people that don't know, there's a few networking modes in dSIPRouter, but the default is called dynamic networking or network mode 0. Basically, what it does is on boot, it'll say, hey, what are my network settings? All right, now I'll configure my different services, Camilio, RTP engine, what have you, and I'll add in those network settings. So what we're going to do is I'm going to grab that script, and it's just a quick Python script. I'm not going to go into the details of it, but it just asks the metadata service in DigitalOcean, hey, do you have the floating IP? Okay, cool. Give me it. Go ahead, put that as the default outgoing route. We will copy that, and we'll go ahead and put that basically anywhere. Use your local bin, sure. Assign float.py, if I could spell. I feel like every time you give a demo is when you can't type or spell.
Happens all the time with me.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we got that. We will make that executable. And I'm going to go ahead and run that. So we can see our IP was this ephemeral IP before. And if we run this, it's not going to give us any output, but it should assign our new IP. I'm not sure if it's going to disconnect my terminal session or not. Give it a second.
It probably will. But we'll see.
Yep. So terminal session. Oh, nope.
Oh, no.
Just took a second. Here we go. So then if I look at our IP again, SES external resolver, it's giving us the floating IP now. And you can see that's the floating IP that we have assigned in DigitalOcean. So now let's say you change your floating IP or you swap it out. On boot, we want this to happen again before dSIPRouter goes ahead and does all those dynamic network settings. So there's a service called dSIPinit. That's what does all these things. And if I just say, give me the status of it, it shows you where that service file is. If I go in there and look at this service file, I'm going to copy our script that we created. You can see there's a few exec starts. I'm not going to go into the details of how all the systemd services work, but for now, you can just say it does all these things on boot. If I change out the first one, that is just a dummy one, it says true, and then we add in services after that. So if we just swap out that one with assigned float IP, now on boot, it will go ahead and do those updates, and then it will do all the other normal dynamic networking. All you gotta do is save that, do a systemctl daemon reload. And now next boot, everything will, it'll assign the IP, and then everything will go ahead and do the normal networking. So that's how you configure the floating IP in DigitalOcean. Yeah, with the dSIPRouter service. For those of you that are familiar with the systemd services, you could also do a drop-in for this. I think it would be probably easier to edit the system file itself, because for the drop-in, you have to clear out the exec starts. So you'd clear it out, do an exec start equals blank, and then you'd have to put all the new ones that you're overriding that parameter with. But yeah, that's just re-showing that demo that I did last time.
So say that again. So basically, it's easier just to modify this one, or are you saying easier to create a new one? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so normally what they're moving towards in systemd is these drop-in files. So yeah,
like
if
a
you do like
file. Okay.
No, so it's if you go to systemd system, and then for this dSIPinit service, if you did like a dSIPinit.d, and then you did any file like override dot service, you can override the settings with whatever parameters you want without having to change the system files. Because normally when you're installing or upgrading packages, it will replace the ones in the libsystemd. So that's how you make like your own changes without having to replace those files or change them out, replace them again on upgrade, basically.
Very good. I mean, I didn't even know that. So this is a gem. This is a gem that Tyler's just dropped on us all. Like for those, because those are the things. Like
Mhm.
System D has changed so much, and it's continuously they're adding new features. So this is pretty dope. So this is one that I think if you didn't know, now you know. Thanks, Tyler, for that one.
Now you know, no problem. Yeah, we'll give as many nuggets as we can here over at D Open Source with the dSIPRouter crew. There's one other thing. Any questions on that before I move on?
No, man, that was really good. Let's see. I don't think we have any questions from the audience. So no, this is really good. This is really dope. Go ahead.
Great. Yeah. The only other thing is we're going to put this into the next release. It's just going to be on dynamic networking mode. So if you have DigitalOcean and if you're deploying a dSIPRouter instance on DigitalOcean, it will detect that and just say on install, go ahead and put this into that service file. So you shouldn't have to do this in the next release. It'll already be in there. But for anybody who's on an old version or needs this, for a current deployment before the next release comes up, you can just look at the repo. I'll drop a link in the show notes to this the script and where it is in the repo. All right.
Very cool.
Yeah. So the next thing I wanted to talk about really quickly was just about the cluster configuration and how to troubleshoot issues there and how to update the network settings. Because we have quite a few customers that are using cluster networking where they have multiple dSIPRouter instances in a cluster, and if they change their network settings or they have issues, they got to come to us because not everybody understands how that works. So I want to just kind of explain a few things there and show how it works. Demystify the cluster settings a little bit.
Yeah.
So when you do a cluster installation, you'll see in Etsy host, there's a few DNS settings, and they kind of set up how the different cluster services work. So for example here, the dsip config, you can see in this section of Etsy hosts, there's local.cluster. So this is just a local DNS name that Camilio is going to use for the DMQ. DMQ is the distributed message queue, and that's basically syncing all your in-memory data for the Camilio service. So this should update with the IPs that the nodes in your cluster can communicate on. So typically it's going to be your internal, but maybe your external IPs of the different dSIPRouter nodes. Pretty similar for the pacemaker and MySQL configs, but this is what pacemaker will communicate over. And these are what the MySQL Galera replication service will communicate over. You can see that there's a couple entries here. People aren't used to seeing in Etsy host multiple entries for the multiple IPs for the same DNS setting or DNS name. But the reason is because we have DNS mask on here. And that just has local stub resolving. It has that feature where you can, in Etsy hosts, put multiple entries. It's very convenient, small service. I tend to like it more than systemd resolved, and we have that on that's another great thing I need to kind of talk about is we have this as a different option on install. So before I go into that, if you have any issues with your Galera service not replicating or pacemaker not communicating anymore, go into Etsy hosts and just check these sections. Make sure that they're resolvable IPs for those nodes. If you change your internal IP or you swap over to a floating IP, just make sure that these settings are correct. So that's kind of that. The one thing I did want to say is about the DNS mask service. We put that into a separate option on install. So people that are doing a cluster install, we recommend always having DNS mask on there. So you have these settings resolvable. The option for that in dSIPRouter is now going to be, I can do help. Yeah. Do help. When you're installing, just give it the DNS option as well as any other options that you normally use. So that will DNS dash DNS or dash dash DNS mask will install that service as well. And yeah, so that's just some of the networking configs and how they work. DNS mask is doing that little stub resolving on the local machine, and it's looking at Etsy hosts to find those settings. And basically, the services are relying on those local DNS entries.
Yeah, that's very cool. I think that one of the things when we talk through this is like, it's setting up a cluster is super. I don't want to say difficult, but it is a lot of pieces to setting up a cluster. And I think, at first I was like, man, DNS mask, this is another thing. But I definitely think it comes in handy when you're doing these type of things because it becomes a lot for people to be able to manage those services externally and make sure it works properly. So kudos to you, Tyler, for really fighting for DNS mask and figuring out how to like really get it to operate the way we really needed it to operate.
Yeah,
I know
they have a great project.
I mean, I knew it was difficult at one time because it was like, yes, the new version of Debian didn't come with like it came with like system D, or in some cases it didn't come with system D, so it caused a lot of problems. But once we made it into a configuration parameter where people can specify if they want it or not, I think it makes a lot. Well, like if you do a cluster install, then obviously it kind of forces it to be installed. But I don't know. I just think this is great for what we needed to use it for. Real quickly, I'm assuming that those because I'm about to look at my own system here, is that see dSIPRouter.net, is that those settings in Etsy host is only there when you do a cluster kind of install, correct? Because I don't.
Correct. So okay. I did add a few commits that are going to make those always there by default, at least the sections in the Etsy host, so that they can be, excuse me, updated dynamically. And then the cloud init template in Etsy host. But so you'll see those now on a regular install, the sections, but they won't be populated unless you have the Galera installation on there, or if you have Pacemaker installed on there.
Very good. No, that's super cool, man. No, that's super cool. So no, I appreciate that. I think that gives a lot of great insight in what's happening under the covers, which is sometimes like people's confusion. So no, that's good, man. So I know we want to keep this short, so I'll let you get the last word in regards to like anything that you are excited for, I guess above and beyond what we already talked about.
Yeah, so I'm pretty excited to continue down this path, the installation and learn the packaging. We've wanted to dive into it for a while, but we've just been tackling so many other issues. So got these figuring out the RPMs. We already got that live, that service live. So now I'm kind of tackling the deb packaging and figuring that out as well. So interesting stuff. What about you, Mac?
I am interested in us getting away from Python. I am excited about going to Go and getting that
Go for a lover.
Where, man, I'm a Gopher lover because, like, I think we still got to deal with obviously all the stuff that you're doing around packaging is going to be very important for the infrastructure part of what we build out when we install. So that's the Chameleon RTP engine, all the pieces that go along with that. But like still like the dependency issues that we have around Python in like a lot of the different packages, like I just want that to go away. Even though it's the benefit though is like I mean, yes, having a binary and being able to just run the binary is going to be great, but the Python install the UI for dSIPRouter doesn't take that long really. But in some cases we have to compile some modules. So all the things you talked about around, reducing the threat vector, I think is really real. So we'll just have one binary. We'll have that tested, validated, and hopefully it'll make things run. And I think what I really would love to see is, and I always wanted to do this, is that having dSIPRouter UI as a package on one of
Mhm.
the OSs, so you can just do like app get install or app install dSIPRouter, and at least the UI comes up, and then maybe we have a package at some point that says, app get dSIPRouter hyphen infra, and it installs all of the infrastructure components and all that good stuff. So I don't know. I'm just
Mhm.
excited to move to this next iteration of dSIPRouter.
Yeah, that's exciting. I think that'll make it more accessible, being able to have it as package, the UI portion, and it'll just be a package that you can pull right down. And then we know it's kind of pinned at all the dependencies are just compiled in, and you don't have to worry about those things changing on the fly.
Yeah,
Because when you
yeah.
write Python, script with dependencies that are getting pulled down, yeah, it can be a pain.
For sure. All right,
Okay.
folks. Well, this is great. Happy holidays to everyone. I think next week we'll be off because of the holidays, so we'll probably be back in the new year. If it's maybe either probably the second week of January, we'll be back, and we'll kind of tune the show a little bit more as well, and go from there. But this is a really great episode. Thank you, Tyler, for everything that you presented today. So
Yeah.
talk to
Thanks.
everyone later.
All right. See you guys next time. Happy holidays. All right.